Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I will be running through the most recent monthly report for the Persistent Universe. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, cannot do it without you guys, and if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So, starting with the AI content team, it says the team supported the social behaviours tied to Stanton's derelict outposts and settlements, which are being used for new mission content. Now this I have already heard in the verse, as when you walk around these various locations like the settlements, you can actually hear the NPCs chatting with one another. It's not perfect by any means, it still needs refining, but it is wonderful to hear them finally having some form of conversation between them. They're slowly coming to life. But more importantly, it's not sounding like it's going to be too long until they can actually offer missions to the player where you go up and they ask you to go and get something or find something for them. Kind of like basic MMO content where you can get these regular jobs to earn a little bit of cash or reputation, not a great deal, but that'll be so fun for off-gridding, just living out in the verse, heading to these locations, earning some creds, and then spending it on your ship or whatever. Now, the team are also looking to capture new content to provide more dynamic conversations to both Stanton and Pyro, and I suppose that's the refining that we need. Now, the team also worked on 4.0 tasks, including validating social AI in various stations around Pyro, plus they reviewed Stanton's landing zones to see where improvements can be made. Now, I'm really excited to see the NPCs in Pyro, especially inside places like abandoned asteroid bases, and for the citizens of Prosperity, working for them, doing certain things just to kind of build up rep with that group. But yeah, 4.0 is going to be very exciting. Now next we have the AI features team, who have been improving human combat features for 4.0. For the first reactions, the behaviour was refactored to provide more consistent responses across a range of situations, and this has been thoroughly tested in the test cell environment, which we have heard about recently. The team also iterated on functionality for NPCs healing downed friendlies, including changes to the actor status to ensure the animation flow continues correctly between individual and synchronized animations, while also creating another test cell to ensure the medic works consistently across different setups, which includes different directions around the patient's body. Now, there is a lot of very detailed work going on for NPCs, and once 4.0 releases and the servers no longer hold the NPCs back, we should be seeing them coming to their true glory, and that will open up a ton of gameplay, as it doesn't just enable more challenging NPCs in combat, but in many other areas as well. Medical rescue, refueling, repairing, towing, combat support, and so much more. Having beacons from NPCs for players to attend to, missions in the verse will just explode alongside the mission system refactor and dynamic missions. It's all going to be tied together. Now, for ammo and weapon management, the developers looked at reloading functionality, including behaviours for switching to a sidearm when picking up ammo or looting from bodies. Improvements were also made to NPCs with rocket launchers, who now enter combat even when no cover is available, and switch to their sidearm if an enemy is too close. Very happy to hear that they will not just fire their rocket at you at point blank range, like you see on Battlefield. Now, AI features and audio teams partnered up to implement and fix wild lines across all AI behaviours, including first reactions, tactics, and investigation. And finally, the team also debuted the first Valakar gameplay at CitizenCon, which is the sandworm, now also found on Monarchs, which is the Pyro planet, and that was one hell of a presentation. Now, for the AI tech team, it says they continue to support server meshing, synchronizing the subsumption component between dedicated servers so that the NPCs continue their assigned behaviors when switching. They then implemented the first pass on several features presented at CitizenCon, including improvements to enemy vision perception, which now takes planetary lighting cycles into account. Now, this is of great importance. Being able to utilize the day-night cycle to stealth is gonna be so handy, especially as we will be gaining and losing rep with various orgs, doing missions for them against their rivals at many different settlements found throughout the verse. So being able to, kind of in a sandbox environment, choose when to do that mission. You can wait until it gets dark, gives you a better chance of getting in and stealthing in, or you can do it in the daylight so that you can see where people are. You can even use the daylight to do a bit of a recce, watching where the patrols are, and then when it gets dark, you have a better understanding of what to expect. Now, the first pass of dynamic cover generation for planets was also completed, and this can also be used in other locations with navigation areas, and this is again something we saw at CitizenCon. NPCs capable of using cover, but also reacting to that cover changing as structures like walls are destroyed, or even moving with a vehicle as the vehicle moves. There is so much yet to come for NPCs. Finally, amongst other things, the team optimized perception-related components like vision and hearing. For example, vision zone queries are now faster than audio stimuli propagation as it utilizes the room system graph. Now, this makes sense, as of course, the speed of light is far greater than the speed of sound, so the NPCs seeing something is quicker than hearing something at the same distance. Now, next we have the AI Game Intelligent Development Team, always a mouthful. They polished StarScript version 1.0 for its internal release, and this reduced the loading times for the majority of large containers, like a whole star system, from 10 seconds to 2 seconds, as well as integrating the new groups look to more clearly differentiate between groups. Now, that's pretty impressive and should drastically help speed up their work, which is always good. This team did a lot of other behind-the-scenes improvements for tools the developers use, which, as I say, they're always a vital part of the overall development speed. Now, moving on to the animation team, they worked on the Valakat and Space Cow, or the Quasi-Grazer, alongside adjustments to the Copian dogs. They also continued to provide facial animation support for Persistent Universe characters and prepped for an upcoming narrative shoot. The team is also currently supporting level design with a number of player interaction animations for level traversal. Moving on, we have the character art team, who focused on tasks also related to CitizenCon, but after the event, the team continued to create the utility and specialist armors, including color and material variants to support factions and missions. Plus, work also began on armors for upcoming events. Now, this was actually one of my unexpected favorite parts of CitizenCon, highlighting all of the great stats and variations that are coming to armors and how using the correct armor for the job will be important. It is also interesting to hear them speaking about the color variants for factions and missions, as I hope this means soon we will be able to earn outfits and uniforms for the various or from the various organizations in the verse as we gain reputation. Really love that idea. Now, finally, for the character concept art team, they created new armors, including utility battle tech and a super heavy armor. I wonder if this utility battle tech could be the Titan suit? I don't know. But again, many new armors were revealed at CitizenCon, and it looks like we are going to be having a major influx of all kinds of armor types, not just relating to combat either, but industry. Now, for the ship art team, they completed the final content review for the Polaris, while the final content tasks are currently in progress for the MISC Starlancer Max, both of which are releasing at the AAE this year, and we have had our hands on them already. I actually tried to record the Polaris video, didn't really give myself enough time, and I spent about 10 minutes trying to find how I get into the ship, so I had to pass on that one for the time being, but I'll get back to it. The team are also nearly finished with 2 unannounced vehicles, while several more are approaching their white box and grey box reviews. Plus, 6 additional vehicles will begin production soon. So many vehicles. The most of these we have probably seen silhouettes for during CitizenCon. I have put out a video recently talking about the ships that I expect to see at IAE, and then some others that we may potentially see, so do check that out. I will link it below. But there is a lot in the works, most of which I presume are releasing towards the end of this year. Now, for the economy team, they continued their ongoing work for Pyro and began implementing some of the balance changes mentioned in previous monthly reports. So happy that the economy is finally getting balanced. This is one of the biggest wins from this year for me so far, is having a much more refined economy that makes sense with how much things cost versus how much you can earn. It just makes the game feel so much more rewarding and engaging, provided you can actually get in and play it. Now, for the mission design team, they have been finalizing the Save Stanton quest chain, which features 3 modular missions and they have also created a journal entry for players to track their progression through the event. The mission system refactor progressed as well, while future handyman missions entered the QATR, which is the Quality Assurance Test Request, and are currently going through the final polish phase. As I say, we are going to see an explosion in mission content for 4.0, with the mission service refactor. That should have rolled out in the 4.0 branch already. I think that was actually releasing in the most recent 4.0 patch, plus the dynamic mission system. Now finally, for the mission design team, they plan tasks for future releases alongside the fundamental archetypes for some of the guilds revealed at CitizenCon. And that is also something I'm really excited to see unfold and come to fruition, is offering all sorts of jobs based on the guilds, what they provide, but also the reputation progression and rewards from these guilds beyond just credits like uniforms, tools, items, challenge coins, all these sorts of things. Now, for the narrative team, it says they tackled a multitude of tasks like the generation of mission text and discoverables in 324 point patches, while also working through a significant amount of text needed to support mission content in Alpha 4.0. The online tech team progressed with features for 4.0 as well, and as part of this, the refactor of the entity subscription service, which is used for markers, was completed and is currently in testing. The back-end social system changes needed for server meshing began internal testing. The mission system is also starting its first round of testing, with additional features currently in development to support larger coordinated missions. The mission system refactor was said to be now working in 4.0. I haven't tested it. I haven't seen any feedback about whether missions are actually working in 4.0 as you transition from shard to shard or server to server, but it is the first step to getting it so that they continue on. Now finally, for the live tools team, they began finalizing a new tool to provide more detailed and powerful access management to Hex. The testing phase began with the player support teams, with their feedback driving future improvements, and the work on the new architecture for the internal error reporting pipeline progressed as well. Now, for my favourite part of the report, we have the R&D, or Research and Development team, supporting the introduction of dynamic weather. And to support the evolving clouds, a compute pass was done to animate the global cloudscape based on the local planet properties, such as temperature, humidity and wind, as we saw at CitizenCon. This data is then used as a base to shape cloud fronts, which are then locally refined via procedural noise. And this data is also then used to build a weather map to allow weather to drive VFX, physics and gameplay, and this currently includes precipitation information as well as the extracted positions of potential lightning locations. Also, an API was implemented to allow the game to sample these weather attributes from both the GPU and CPU in a consistent, simple and efficient way. And all I have to say to that is just wow. Seeing the reveal of weather at CitizenCon this year was, and still is, a major highlight for me. It blew me away and is something that I cannot get out of my head. It is for me one of the most anticipated features to come in. Not that it does anything beyond just creating this interesting environment, but you could have the same mission to go and do whatever, and based on the time of day and the weather, that mission can be and feel completely different. It also looks as though the dynamic cloud formations are in 4.0, so I really hope to see dynamic weather roll out in Alpha 4.0 for its initial release, as that would just be so cool. Anyway, it goes on to say that in order to render believable wet weather, support was added for rain volume rendering to the atmosphere rain matcher. And rain volumes are essentially columns of rain underneath heavy clouds that self-shadow alongside casting shadows into the environment, which they say is important to prevent incorrectly lit scenes where players would expect dense rain volumes to partially block sunlight. Also, changes to indirect lighting were implemented as well to improve the effect of multi-scattering on the atmosphere and clouds, and multi-scattering is now aware of cloud presence alongside the atmosphere, which results in overcast skies being less hazy and blue and cloud tops appearing brighter. And I mean, Star Citizen is already one of the best screenshot simulators, so with dynamic weather and global illumination and ray tracing and all these other aspects, it is just going to look even more incredible. Now, to give moving clouds a smoother look, changes were made to account for their movements when sampling cloud shadows, as well as the GPU weather map, which is what directly influences the appearance of rain volumes. And further improvements are being worked on to reduce the noticeable stepping of cloud shadows when the camera moves, which can often be seen when the sun is set low. It also mentions that work on the rain volumes inspired a prototype for improved ground fog rendering that says will be cheaper to evaluate and render alongside improving the modelling aspect and lighting, and it will also self-shadow and cast shadows like rain volumes and clouds. So interesting to hear that all of this work they're doing on weather is bringing improvements in other areas as well. Now finally, from the R&D team, work began to support and maintain the map storing the accumulated amount of rain, and amongst other things, this will allow puddles to remain for a while after raining. It's pretty impressive that they even simulate the storing of rain volumes, rather than just having the on-off for rain. It sounds like it is literally based on the simulation in regards to how much rain can be gathered and moved and then dropped. So impressive. Now finally, we have the visual effects team who helped on tasks for CitizenCon's presentations, including new biomes, base building, and Levski. So excited for all of these, but going back to Levski will just be amazing. And also, when we're in Nyx, the potential for Vanduul clans to start coming in raiding parties, that is going to be so much fun. Now finally, for the visual effects artists, they continue to support the vehicle and location teams with upcoming deliverables. So there you go, that was the latest monthly report. Some amazing stuff going on there, especially in terms of weather. And I really hope that 4.0 brings dynamic weather. That would blow me away, especially while off-gridding, just living in Pyro, watching these weather fronts rolling in like rain or lightning storms. It is going to be so nice. Anyway, with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing. We are making a push for 70,000 subscribers. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/SuperMacBrother. You are all more than welcome over there. We will be probably talking more about this kind of thing, playing whatever patches are available. It is nice to get back to playing. For me, 324.2a has actually been really solid. I hear that a lot of people are still having issues, which is obviously not good. But on the flip side, I've heard a lot of people saying that it's a lot better than it was. So hopefully more improvements can come along to make it so that everyone can have a good time. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour. Tick that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. Big thank you to my patrons and channel members again. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you in the next one.